Hello, Perfect Death here with another video for Ragnarok Online Mobile. For this video I'm going to do a follow-up to an old video that I did a long time ago for the Earth Drive skill. Because I've noticed that a lot of people have been coming and looking around for Earth Drive builds, skill information, things like that, because it's gradually been changing. Every couple of updates they've been adding something for it, so I'll start by going over some of the changes that they've made, which have begun to make Earth Drive more of a viable skill to use. So, first of all, I'm going to go into through my messy inventory, and within the rune box that we got, they added some new runes, in particular for the Earth Drive skill. You have the Iron Hoof rune. This one gives you Earth Drive damage and Earth Drive stun chance. Now, when this came out, the only real use for Earth Drive was diving into enemy positions to clear Earth fields or to clear out Hell plants. And this rune added some nice stun to that AoE, which helped make you survive diving into big hordes of people in War of Crystals or guild versus guild battles in general. The damage bonus wasn't quite enough to really make this skill that viable for doing a lot of DPS. So what really changed was later on they added 2 new S runes for every class, and with the Royal Guard we got this charging leader rune, and the first line just reduces the skill delay between using command charges. So this command charge is usually a 30-second skill delay, and it's 10 seconds of activity, so you have 20 seconds downtime. But with this you can get it down to 10 seconds of downtime if you get a really high roll. The next line gives a modifier so that while you're under command charge, your Earth Drive damage increases based on your movement speed. And this made it a really big boost to Earth Drive damage, though still not quite enough to really push it into a really nice meta, though you can definitely get your Earth Drive damage up really high with a lot of movement speed, and movement speed is quite easy to scale up. So it was a very good buff to it, but the real change, the really strong one, is this third line that you can get at a 12% chance when you roll charging leader rune. This one, it doesn't quite explain it very well. It kind of sounds like it just does one Earth Drive when you use command charge, but what it does is it auto casts it constantly. So if you have all of your Earth Drive runes for your Acer monument, you'll have a 2.5-second delay between each Earth Drive that you can use. So this will be automatically casting it every 2.5 seconds for the 10 seconds of duration. And you can still cast manual Earth Drive. So that effectively doubles your Earth Drive damage while you are under command charge. And that command charge does also work from other Royal Guards who are in your party. They use command charge, you get that bonus, you will auto use Earth Drive. So this combination from this rune really propelled Earth Drive into a pretty viable DPS build. And a lot of people have been moving over towards that and trying it out because it scales pretty well. You don't need to have a ton of investment into attack because Earth Drive is largely affected by your vitality and defense. It's Earth Element, so you can boost your Earth Element damage, and yeah, you can see that there's also some other neat uses for it as well. I usually just use it for the speed and attack speed penalty when I'm tanking, because if you're in Thanatos Tower, a lot of the bosses have high attack speed. So if you hit them with a level 10 one, their attack speed drops down very significantly. And on the side, you do quite a bit of damage if you are running a pretty strong Earth Drive build. But the actual build, if you wanted to really go into it, the gear, I'll start with the gear just to show that. Probably the standard first pick if you wanted to go into Earth Drive would be to get the Ivory Lance, your good old reliable Ivory Lance. Because this ignore defense it's actually 100% defense ignore. So if you're up against Rachel mobs, they have 160% defense. Bosses in Thanatos Tower are 200% defense. So right here you cut off 100% defense, and Earth Drive really does take a big hit to its damage if the enemy has a lot of defense percentage bonuses. So Ivory Lance, I've actually got the Desert Wolf card in there because that will, if you have the Desert Wolf card plus the bonus small mob damage from your Cavalry Mastery here, where if you have this maxed out, then you will get an extra 30% damage to small monsters. That will allow you to activate the Insight bonus from a Desert Wolf card deposit for 50% defense ignore. So right there, with all of my gear, I probably have, I've got 132% it says. Now this isn't actually counting my Ivory Lance 100%. So we can see here I have the 132, and if I actually just unequip that and I check it, wherever it is, there it is, it's 72% there. So I lost 50% defense ignore, which was from the Desert Wolf card. So I'm actually sitting at like 232%. So I have way more defense ignore than what I actually need. And yeah, that you can get. So what you can end up doing then is balancing out. I'm just in some weird farming build right now. But if you wanted to optimize an Earth Drive build, you'd be looking to get your defense percentage up really high. You'd want enough defense ignore to match the boss. If you use taunt, you will reduce their defense percentage by 20. So a Thanatos Tower boss with 200%, you can drop onto 180% with a taunt. So most people usually aim for about 170% defense ignore. And the other main stat, of course, is you want to try to get your vitality up as high as you can. And because of that, a lot of people end up really, if you want to min-max your ED build, you really have to go into your enchants big time. So like my rune boots, for example, I've actually got a vitality enchant on it, which is the kind of thing that you would want to roll. If you're looking for an armor or a weapon, you would be rolling for morale enchantments, while also picking gear that has a high defense. So tights, even though it has a morale 4 on it, they're not that great because they have a really low defense value. While my armor, I have a Watcher's armor, is 273 defense, plus 10% defense from just that there, and that makes this very much better, especially with the enhance, because it's a fairly rare piece of gear, so I get quite a lot of defense from the enchantment. So when you're looking to build it, there's a couple different options. Weapon wise, I'll start there. I showed off the Ivory Lance. Other weapon options we can pull up here. For your weapon, you have like the Green Steel Pike, or which starts off as a Cardo, goes to GSP, then goes to Saintly Glaive. Saintly Glaive is pretty expensive to get going, especially if you want to get the plus 10 one, because if you can get it at plus 10, then you get a lot of different bonuses. You get defense percentage for Refine, which is very nice, and you get a lot of vitality. So this lets you do a lot of damage with it. If you are going to go for it, you probably want to try and roll a morale enchant to compensate for that. Another option, of course, is the Bill Guisarme. This one, it's definitely your best boss killing spear, especially when you synth it, and that gives you boss damage bonuses. So in one example, you're really good at killing bosses, and in the other, you're just generally tanky, and you can also kill bosses. The BG here is actually synth material for the Saintly Glaive, which actually gives it this small bonus to boss monsters. So this is the most expensive option, it seems like, and it's makes you very tanky, gives you decent boost to damage, and it's probably it's not generally the best for PvP. I've heard that the Ivory is best for PvP. So between these three, those are your options. This one is certainly the cheapest. This one's second cheapest. This is most expensive, but has the most general use out of it. Aside from that, there are some other weird options you might go down, but for the most part, those would be your three main picks. And then for offhand, the go-to for this ED build seems to be Giant Shield, because it gives you vitality, gives you damage to bosses, and Refining gives you more damage to bosses. This is just damage reduction, but the Giant Shield seems to be a pretty common pick for that. I've seen people pick the Stone Buckler. It gives you better survivability and gives you maximum HP, which is pretty useful for just tanking while you're doing your build there. Though its defense value is pretty low. This has pretty good defense value of 110, though the right here, Sacred Mission definitely has the highest defense. Once you get it upgraded a bunch and you synth it, it has a very high defense. The vitality bonus is about 5. It's about 5 vit, 5 int. And that makes it pretty good as well. Doesn't quite give you the boss damage bonus that the Giant Shield would. So Sacred Mission, Giant Shield, those are probably top 2 for it. Stone Buckler is pretty popular. And where's Static? There you go. Static is also fairly commonly used due to the high elemental resistance. So this one's also quite good for tanking. And you can use this with a bunch of different other jobs. Whereas Sacred Mission, for example, this one is just Crusader. Oh, look at that. Price jumped up on Sacred Mission. Must be because episode 3 is coming. As for other options, there's just, weird little niche options that you might go down, but those would be the main 4 picks for your offhand. Then we go down to the armor. The armor, the standard pick for Earth Drive build would be the Goibin armor, the Gooby. This is just because you get way more vitality. You get 5 and 10 there, and then even more down here. So the Gooby gives you the most vitality, and it does have pretty good defense. Once you get it all the way up to tier 10, your defense bonus is pretty okay. And that vitality bonus really boosts it up a lot. And you can even synth it to make it a little bit better. The other common option I've seen people point out is you go down the Mithril Metal to Legion Plate, and also the Watcher's Armor that I have, and then this one has the most raw defense, not quite as much vitality as what the Gooby has, but it's there. It's more expensive. Each one of these is like 5 mil, whereas the price for the Goibins for a while was sitting at minimum price, but now it's just below 2 million. It's pretty commonly used now, so a lot of the different soul jobs can wear it, whereas the Sacred Mission is limited just to the Crusader class. So those are the two main picks for the armor. Um, because of just what kind of enchants you roll with Earth Drive build, you have a really hard time running resistances, so probably not going to see, like in PvP, that you'd have a really hard time getting the status effect resistances with this build. It's something that people generally have to sacrifice for the Earth Drive damage. So Meteorite armor, which synthesizes the Comet, is really good for those status reductions, so you might still want to have one of these around just in case you fight a boss or something that uses a lot of status effects and you need to just have something on hand as a side armor. So I usually keep Meteorite armor around just for that. As for that, not really much else. The Imperial armor is just for like shield chain damage, which doesn't do a huge much. And then I believe there is the Chosen armor, which is the Staunch. Where are you? There he is. Staunch armor. This one is strength and dex, so not really going to help you a whole lot when it comes to your Earth Drive damage. So, but it does have good defense value. Now on to the next section, which would be the garments. This one, mostly you'd probably see people recommending the Ancient Cape. That's because you get the defense ignore. But if you do have enough defense ignore, then drop the Ancient Cape. I've seen some people recommending some other ones, but the Coat of Dragon Scales is the one that I've seen recommended the most when it comes to the Earth Drive build. That's because as you refine it, you gain extra defense percentages. General Mantau is pretty good due to the Vite bonus. They added this guy, which gives you vitality, damage reduction, and also fear resistance if you have the shoes. Duff's Cape can also be pretty good. It gives you vitality and reduces range damage, which does include damage from certain ranged skills, so this is certainly a useful option if you're trying to run PvP. The Pauldrons, these have the highest defense just from the gear. It's very high defense, though the enchanting of it when you enhance it with Zenny, the defense doesn't really increase that much. Kind of useful for the auto cast Endure though, but for the most part, oh yeah, and then of course Deathcat Cape. This one, not a whole lot of defense to it. Gives you a little more max HP, has damage reflect, but for the most part, if you're looking to run Earth Drive, you'd go either Ancient Cape for the defense ignore or Dragon Scale for the defense bonus. On to the foot gears. With the foot gears, let's see, where should I start with? You don't really want to go for the Goibeen. This one doesn't really give you any vitality anyway, unless you just want to be really cheap and run the full Goibeen set. So most people just skip on that one. Let's see, where is it? I know the Variant Shoes is very highly recommended for the defense percentage bonus for refining it, but they are very expensive because you do need light Zolan materials in order to craft it. So this is certainly one of the big options up there. I mean, you could go for if you wanted the fear resistance, but for boots improving your damage, this is probably one of the better ones up there. Rune boots aren't really going to do much for this particular build. It has pretty good defense value, but not too much there. The Thorough War Shoes will give you the vitality. These ones evolve into... Which ones do you guys evolve into? Either these ones will give you your vitality bonus, which is pretty nice. So between that, you've got War Shoes, your Variant Shoes. Grandma Slippers is also something I've seen recommended for the vitality, and think this works for Earth Drive. Can't exactly remember. Sometimes these values don't quite apply to Earth Drive. So, but some of them certainly do. But either way, I've seen variant shoes recommended probably number 1. And for the most part, you kind of aim for the vitality enchant. So if you find a really high roll on a pair of shoes, like with an 8 or more vitality enchantment, then that could certainly fill the place of any other piece of foot gear. And then we go to the accessories. With these ones, the most recommended would be the endurance necklace for the vitality. When you get this synthesized to Ring of Immortality, that's 12 vitality, which is really nice. It's going to get you that vitality bonus. The Survivor ring here, this one is a mix of vitality and intelligence, so even though this is a cheaper option for getting max HP, if you're going Earth Drive and you want that vite, then you'd definitely want the Ring of Immortality. And another one that I've seen is the Matter Leash. This one will give you 100% move speed, and as we've seen with the Command Charge Rune, that gives you a lot of damage for Earth Drive, but it only lasts 5 seconds and has a 1 minute cooldown. You can shorten it with these refined bonuses, but the Matter Leash is more short-term boost to your Earth Drive damage. Would probably recommend that you run with the Endurance Immortality for more steady Earth Drive DPS. But one of the things to note about the enchantments is physical defense increase is very good for Earth Drive. Even if you don't get a sharp blade, having a very high physical damage increase is going to do a lot to help boost your damage here. As for other pieces of gear, because you have like face, mouth, that sort of thing, a lot of that can come down to getting the right enchantments. So like if you pick a hat, right here I've got a 7 vitality on a hat, so that's pretty good there. This card is very good for the headgear, gives you that skill damage and +2 to your attributes. For your armor card, you can probably be safe with a Moonic Star for that defense ignore. For the boots, I just run the Ferris card for the extra vitality. There's some other options that you could run there. But a lot of times when you're aiming for cards, you'll be looking for ones that do like extra damage to certain elements, races, sizes. And let's see, pretty much that would be it for a quick summary or just a quick talk about the Earth Drive build. There's a lot of other things to go to, but in general you're looking to prioritize getting high vitality, high defense, enough defense ignore, and you also have things like your guild bonuses, so you can boost your defense with your Survive Blessing. You can boost your defense ignore and your pen. Both of these are going to be really good for doing damage with Earth Drive. Your defense percentage here, the blue cards, that's going to increase your damage with Earth Drive. Your Earth damage bonus is going to increase the damage of Earth Drive as well. So that pretty much shows off that. Just as a quick thing, in your Aesir Monument, you can find a lot of all of the Earth Drive delay runes are going to be over here in this bottom right corner with the half-second cooldown. So you'll want these so you don't have to wait as long for your Earth Drive to be recasted. You'll probably want to grab as much defense ignore, your cavalry mastery runes. There's a couple of these in the area. This one's not there. Your vitality runes, and near around the middle you can find these 2% defense bonuses. And that's pretty much it for the Aesir runes or priorities anyway. The rest of that, you might want to go into things like Unlimited Endure or crit defenses. Having the Dying Recovery can be nice to have around. Tension Relax. There's a bunch of different other utility skills that you can run with. So often, I'd say with my, I'll actually pull up my build. So my EDRG build, it's a pretty general purpose build that I run with, you know, for the most part you'll want your taunt and your endure and your HP regen. The rest is just stats there. And I get a bit weird with my build. It's not a full DPS Earth Drive build. I haven't invested enough in the enchanting to really do Earth Drive DPS. But you go down your cavalry combat so that you can get this maxed out. And then auto guard's useful if you're going to be tanking, but Spear Quicken is just something that I grabbed for hybrid sacrifice build. If you do want to boost your Earth Drive damage, I would recommend getting Shield Boomerang level 15. Once you hit that breakthrough, you can get up to 300 defense for about 3 seconds or so. It's a pretty short time. So if you do Shield Boomerang, then Earth Drive, the breakthrough Shield Boomerang will give you a really nice boost to your damage. So for that, you would want to get a couple points into Shield Charge and Shield Chain to unlock your Shield Boomerang. The Retribution can be pretty useful because it will deal percentage damage to undead and devils. Your Bliss is nice for that extra 5 vitality. Aside from that, you can flex around some of your other skills into other areas. Like say I went for a multi-role tank, Earth Drive, and Sacrifice builds. Since Sacrifice ignores a lot of damage reductions, it can make it pretty good for DPS, while Earth Drive is on cooldown, so you do an Earth Drive and you poke a couple times with Sacrifice. So Earth Drive up here, I've got the full cast delay reductions on it so that it, instead of a 5, it would be a 2.5. Shield of Defense is good for this build because you're going to be doing, 10% extra damage with shield skills and gain an extra 200 defense. Going beyond that, it's going to give you attack for every 12 defense in this case. But the higher this levels up, the less defense you need per 2 points of attack. So it's useful, but it's not really powerful for you to go above level 10 on this, especially for just a pure Earth Drive build. And of course your level 10 or your level 5 command charge, 10 seconds, 30% move speed. If you get the runes for it, you can increase the move speed. The Aesir runes will increase the move speed, which will make you deal more damage, of course. As for your other stats, if you need the defense ignore, Spear Thrust level 10 will give you 10% defense ignore, and level 15 will give you an extra 5 pen percentage, which can be useful. Inspiration, definitely going to be good for an Earth Drive build because that's plus 10 vitality. And it also will give you 100 points more hit because Earth Drive will only gain about 30% extra to your hit when you use the skill. Battle Chant is always useful because if you're going to be running that much vitality, then you're going to be able to heal quite a bit. So you can always throw lots of points into your Battle Chant to boost your heal rate. Piety, not too useful for DPS. You would normally just grab 1 point into this, but I do a bit of support role. In this, I get the Piety runes that give up to 8% holy damage, so then I use that on teammates for Thanatos Tower to give them more damage. This one, I only put a couple points in just for the status effect resistances. King's Guardian, not too useful unless you're just looking to get a short period of time where you have a lot of reductions. This isn't an overbrand build because you're not running attack or magic damage, and you could go for Fearless if you need that that damage reduction that Fearless provides people with. So, and do that, you go through Prestige. And Prestige is pretty useful for tanking because it will reduce the enemy attack by 20% or more if you get the Aesir rune. So, I think I covered most of the stuff for Earth Drive. It's fairly specialized if you want to go for a build. Farming with Earth Drive is pretty hard. I've shown that in my previous video. That hasn't really changed. The main thing that changed is that you can do some pretty crazy damage if you can get that third line activated on your command charge. So I've been using that because I did get lucky enough to have the Charging Leader rune with the third line activated. So that is a very strong ability. Like I say, that third line effectively doubles your Earth Drive damage. So if you are looking to run a Earth Drive DPS build, then you pretty much need to have this third line, or else it's hard to really recommend going for that. Unfortunately, I've gotten 2 runes with 24% Earth Drive stun, but very low Earth Drive damage runes. So this rune, I would need a higher roll on that if I really wanted to go more into Earth Drive damage. So that'll be it for this video. Take care.